Okay, to get started with the dot art, the Mandala Dot Art, we're going to paint the background black. So a nice thin coat of black. You can use a little bit of water on your brush. Don't use a ton though, just a little bit. Spread it out and do a nice thin coat. You don't want a whole lot of paint on there. Nice thin. You can paint around the outside edges if you want, also to finish off your canvas. Okay, so we're just doing a nice thin coat of paint all the way across. Okay, and then you're going to let that dry. You can even blow dry it if you wanted to speed along the process. Okay, I blow dried mine just to give it a quick dry. You're welcome to let it air dry for a few minutes. We're gonna put the stencil on next. All right, so you're just gonna center that. You're gonna take your piece of chalk and go right down all the lines. And then don't forget to get the intersecting lines too. Okay, so I'm going over all the lines, starting with that dot in the middle, working my way around. These are going to be your guidelines for the dots. Okay, so I'm just tracing right in beside that stencil. And again, don't forget to get the ones that are going around in a circle, those intersecting ones. You want to have all those lines in there with your chalk. And these are going to be our guidelines when we get started with the dots. Starting from the middle. Okay, so I'm working my way out to the outside edge here. Making sure before I pick up my stencil that I got all of my intersecting lines, which it looks like I did. All right, so I'm gonna pull it off, blow some of that chalk dust away there. Okay, so we're gonna get started with the dotting. Now you have 3 different sizes. You have a fatter, rounder dowel, you have kind of a medium-sized one, and then you have your double-sided pointy one for the little tiny dots. I'm gonna start in the middle. Now we do have 4 different colors here. You should probably mix a little bit of white into the purple and a little bit of white into that blue. The aqua will likely be light enough, but we want them to show up and be vibrant on the black. So when we get started, another thing you're going to need is a paper towel to wipe off your tool in between dotting. I put a little bit of water on mine so it's easier to wipe off the paint. All right. Okay, I'm gonna take a little bit of that white paint and I'm just gonna mix it in with the blue just to give it a lighter color. So when I start dotting on the black background, you'll be able to see it. Okay, I'm gonna wipe that off and I'm just gonna take a little bit of white, mix it into the purple also. Okay, just so that I'll be able to see it a little bit better on that dark black background. Okay, so I'm gonna set that aside. These are all my colors that I'm going to use. The black was just for the background, and then you'll use the black for touching up at the very end. Okay, so to get started, we're going to take the largest dowel. I'm going to dip it into some white paint. Okay, just dipped a little bit on the end there. And I'm gonna go right in the middle and press down. Okay, so I'm just making a circle there to get started. And then again, I'm gonna take my paper towel and I'm going to wipe off my dowel in between colors. Okay, next thing I'm gonna do is grab my medium-sized dowel Okay, and I'm going to use, and you feel free to switch up the colors as we go also. I'm going to use a little purple. And again, I mixed a little white in there. This way it'll show up. Okay, I'm going to dot around this middle dot. And when I do that, I'm going to do it at the end of each one of these little lines. Okay, so I'm putting a dot going around with my medium all the way around. The dots will touch each other, that's fine. Working my way all the way around, and each one of those lines gets a dot at the end of it. Okay, so I have a little purple ring right around my white large dot in the middle. Okay, so I just dabbed it down, and then I'm going to wipe it off. All right, once you get that done, I'm going to go back, and now I'm going to use a little aqua. Okay, the section that I'm going to do now is right in this first section, dotting all the way around. So you'll see the line here for the first intersecting line. It's going underneath that and in between each one of those vertical lines that goes out to the edge. Okay, so I have a little aqua. I'm just dotting right into the middle of each one of those little sections. Right into the middle of each one. Okay, all the way around. So whatever you do in one section, you're going to carry it around. The mandala has a very symmetrical feel all the way around. Okay, when you're done with that, again, wiping off on your paper towel. Okay, I'm going to switch back to the bigger dowel. I'm going back into some white paint. And at this point, I'm going to dot right on that intersecting line for that first intersecting line, right on the edge of it there. So let me show you as I go around. I'm actually going to do every other one so that they're not too crowded in there. Right at the edge of that intersecting line. And it's okay if yours doesn't end up in the exact same spot as mine, but the important part is as you go around, to hit it in the exact same spot on yours. So if you've moved it over a little bit, just make sure all of yours are exactly where they are. Okay, so it's nice and symmetrical, going all the way around. And then I'm going to wipe off that dowel. I'm going to use the small one now with the royal blue. Okay, so what I'm going to start with is putting a dot at the top of each one of these white big dots right on the line. Okay, and I'm working my way around, and only the ones that have the big white dot are going to get the blue dot above it. Just dotting your way all the way around and then wiping off on your paper towel again in between. Okay, I'm going to switch over to the tiny tool now. And we have these big blue dots up here. I'm going to put some smaller dots as I go around, and I'm going to use my tiny dotting tool. When I do that, I don't want it to actually be as tiny as the end of this is. So what I'll be doing is, and I'll show you on the plate first, I'm going to take it and I'm going to just roll it around to make a bigger dot. Because if I just dotted it down, it would be tiny like that. But when I go in there, I want it to be a little bit bigger. So I'm going to roll it around in a circle. Now, the technique as we go around this white dot surrounding them is called walking the dots. So if I instruct you in one of the next steps to walk the dots, that means we're going to go around the circle. Okay, so I'm taking that blue color and I'm going to do 1, 2, 3 as I walk the dots around, okay? And I'll show you up close. So it's right there. I have the bigger dot, and then I walked 3 dots around that white one. I'm going to do it on the other side of the white one also, And then I'm going to work my way around doing that on all of them. So I'm doing 3 dots. 1, 2, 3. And again, this is the sort of thing that if you have room for only 2 dots, or maybe you put 4 dots, just carry that along on each one of them. Okay, so I'm walking the dots 1, 2, 3 around each one of those big white dots. 1, 2, 3 around each one. Okay, until you've completed all of the blue around the dots. And remember, I'm making them a little bit bigger by kind of rolling it around a little bit to make that dot a little bit bigger. And they're hugging right around that white dot. So again, the key to a successful mandala is to make it look symmetrical. So whatever you do around one side, you're doing it around the other, as close as possible as to how it looks on the other side there. I'm working my way all the way around those white dots with these blue ones. I'm using that royal blue, and again, if you want to switch up the colors that you've got there, feel free to switch them up in any order. Okay, I'm going all the way around 1, 2, 3 around each one of these until you have them all filled in. 1, 2, 3. Okay, so again, I'll hold it close. And that's where we're at. We started with the middle, the white dot, did the purple ones right at the end there, aqua in between the lines, big white dots right on the intersecting ones, and then walked the dots around with blue. Okay, so I'm going to wipe off my dotting tool, and I'm going to switch back to my medium. I'm actually going to use white again. I'm going to go in between, right on these lines. So the white dots are on a line, and then there's a line in between each one. I'm going to go right in between with that medium. And what I'm going to do is do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, till I get all the way up to that last intersecting. And if yours are a different length, maybe you want 4, maybe you do 3, depends on how long it takes you to get up there. Just do that all the way around. Okay, so I'm going to do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 till I get all the way up. Okay, I'm doing them in between on the line that runs in between the ones with the white dots. Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. All the lines that run in between, starting right in between those white dots on that line. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, working my way all the way around. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You just keep dipping into the paint so that you have enough on there to dab. Okay. Wiping off my tool. The next thing I'm going to do is take that tiny dotting tool, and I'm going to take some more of that royal blue paint, and I'm going to dot 3 more dots on the line right above where that white dot is with the blue around it. 1, 2, 3 above. With the tiny dotting tool, again, just kind of rolling it, making them a little tiny bit bigger. Going up in between. You can see it starts to take that mandala form as we get those little dots in there. Okay, 1, 2, 3 on each one of those. I'm doing the royal blue and going right above that royal blue bigger dot till I get 3 dots. 1, 2, 3, and feel free to pause this at any time if you want to go a little slower. Okay, wiping that off in between. Okay, we're going to start another round where we walk the dots around, and what I'm going to do is do it on this middle dot here of the white ones. Okay, so the white ones have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. If you didn't do 5, just pick any dot somewhere towards the middle. Okay, and what I'm going to do is walk some aqua dots around that middle one. Okay, so I have the aqua. I'm going to start on either side of it where the intersecting line is, just so I have some evenness. Okay, so again, you can do that on all of them first if that helps guide you a little bit. And then I'm going to walk one below, one underneath, around, so I start to get what looks like it's hugging with those little dots. So again, I started with one on the intersecting line right by the middle. And again, if your dots don't fall exactly there, that's fine. Just pick one that's sort of towards the middle. And in a curve right around, we're going to roll them in and walk the dots around that middle one for each one of those. Okay, I'm doing 3 dots on either side. Again, you may end up with a few more or a few less. Just make them even as you go around so that they all look the same. Okay, so I'm rolling them just to make them a tiny bit bigger so they're not super, super tiny. Okay, and I'm going all the way around. One, 2, 3 on both sides, hugging in, kind of curving around that middle dot. I started with a dot on either side where I have the intersecting line, but if your intersecting line doesn't land there, that's fine. You can choose to do it on another dot. Okay, so I have those. Now I'm going to wipe off my brush. And I'm going to do a second layer right around those actually with the purple. So I'm going into some purple. Again, I mixed a little white in my purple just so it'll show up. So I'm going to do the same thing, go next to it. And then I'm going to walk it around 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, except for I'm going to add an extra one in here so it reaches over by that white dot a little closer, really circles it in. So let me just zoom in on that here, right? So I have my inner layer here with the aqua dots, and then I put my little purple ones right there, and I'm gonna walk those around, all the way around. I'm gonna put a little tiny bit more white into my purple, just so that it shows up a little bit more. Okay, so what you're doing is you're going to do a second layer of dots all the way around. Okay, I'm just gonna wipe off my brush so it doesn't dry out. Okay, so I'm taking the little guy here and I'm gonna hit both sides around the aqua, and then this time I'm doing a few extra dots in here just to reach. Okay, so I have one that goes on an intersecting line, and this time I'm doing 2 so that it reaches around the outside of that circle. Oh. Okay, and I'm going to turn it, and I'm going to do all of the dots just that way around those little tiny aqua dots that we did. Again, just an even amount. So I'm doing that one middle dot, and I'm doing 2 dots on either side of it. Right, working my way all the way around. Just like this. Okay, so again, I mixed a little bit of white into that purple so it would show up a little bit better. A dot on either side. And then dotting till I reach that white circle there. Creating a little circle around that middle dot there. Start with my dot on either side of the aqua ones where the line is, and then I'm walking them around so that they can get close up and do a second layer here to that aqua. Okay, so I have the white dot in the middle, aqua, then purple. I'm gonna actually take a little bit more purple here, and I'm gonna dot it right in the middle of those dots we just did, right in the middle of that white medium-sized dot. I'm doing a tiny one right there, okay? So what you wanna do is go around each one, do a tiny dot right in the middle, right there, going all the way around. Again, each one will get one. If you do it on one side, it has to be done on the other to give it that nice, even, symmetrical look. Okay, so the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to dip into a little bit more white, and I'm going to continue these white lines out. Okay, so I'm going to do smaller dots with my tiny one. So I did the 5 dots here of the medium size. Now I'm going to take my tiny and go 1, 2, 3, and do these little tiny ones that come out. 1, 2, 3, right on the end of each one of those white ones, so they go tapered down to these little tiny lines, these little tiny dots, sorry. Working my way all the way around. Two, 3. 1, 2, 3. Okay, you see how everything's nice and even. What it looks like on one side, it should look like on the other. I'm going to clean off that small tool. I'm going back to the medium-sized one. And what I'm going to do is start to put in a few more dots around everything. So I'm going to start to fill in this mandala, really get all those little pieces filled in. All right, so I'm going to use some aqua on my medium-sized dowel. And where I'm going to dot it is going to be, okay, so you see this royal blue that we have in here, and I have the 1, 2, 3 dots that come up. I'm going to dot this aqua, one on each side of that. And I'm going to work my way around with that. Okay, so I'm doing it essentially at the first dot, kind of where that intersecting line is. But again, not everybody's intersecting lines will line up exactly where mine do. Depends on where you put it when we went through the first time around. So I'm doing one dot on either side. It's at the intersecting dot, or it's closest to the first tiny dot coming off the royal blue. Okay, one dot on either side all the way around. Okay. Once you have that, you're going to clean off your brush. We're going to do another round of walking the dots. And first I'm going to do a dot in the middle. I'm going to use that medium dowel here. And I'm going to do some more white. Right at the end here, right at that last intersecting one, I'm going to put a white dot, and that's right after those 3 blue, royal blue dots. So each one of those is going to get one right at the intersecting line. Going all the way around. Okay, and then I'm going to clean off my dowel. I'm going to the tiny one where I'm going to start finishing off this mandala, and you are welcome to keep going after we shut off. You can go ahead and add some more dots in here and there. Again, changing up the colors is totally fine also. I'm going to use the royal blue first, and I'm going to walk the dots all the way around this white dot that I just put here with the royal blue. Okay, so I have little dots, and again, just kind of, so I'm going to do one on each kind of line and then do one in between for this one, but it depends on how yours falls, so maybe you won't end up with the same amount. Okay, making the end one, tippy end, a little bit bigger than the rest of them. So let me show you what that looks like right there. Okay, so I have the big one right here, and I dotted them right around this white dot that we did right at the other edge, in between those white line of dots there. Okay, I'm going to work my way all the way around doing that. So again, it gets the biggest dot at the end here, right on top of it. And then one in between, one on the line, one in between, going all the way around. And again, main thing is that we kind of want to circle around this, and you just want to just make it even as you go around. Each one will get the same thing. Okay, so going all the way around and dotting in between. Okay, I'm going all the way around all of those white dots that I put on the end there, with my dot above it on the outer edge as the biggest one, and then the rest of them are a little bit smaller, but I'm still rolling it to make it a little bit bigger than it was to get started with. And I'm going all the way around each one of those, and I'm going to build those up with a few colors, a few layers. So this is the first layer, and then we're going to work through our other colors as we go. Okay, so I'm just getting all of these dots in. Again, the biggest one at the end, working my way all the way around. Each one of those. I'm going to clean off my smallest tool here, and now I'm going to walk all three of those other colors around there, and you can do it in any order. I'm going to start with purple along outside of the royal blue, and I'm just going to walk the dots right around the outside of that little circle that we just made around them, and again, the biggest one at the top part, and the rest are all about the same size. No specific amount that you have to put in, but whatever you put in on one side, just put them in on the other. Okay, so biggest one goes on the outer edge. Then taking that little tool and putting a symmetrical amount of dots around each one of those. Okay, so I'm doing 1, 2, third one on the line, 3, 4 over there, and I'm working my way all the way around. Okay, going all the way around each one of those blue ones until I have them all done. And then again, you can build up as many colors on this. If you start to run out of room, maybe your dots are a little bit bigger. You maybe put less layers of the dots around the outside of this, or if you went really tiny with yours and you have room for a few more, you definitely can do that too. Add a few more layers and change up the colors from what I've got. Okay, so as I'm finishing up this purple, I'm going all the way around, just all the way around here. With those little purple dots, walking them around. And again, that end one is the biggest one. If you're not seeing your colors on your black background, make sure you're putting a little bit of white into your paint, mixing it in so that it'll show up. Okay, so again, my end one is the biggest one. I'm going to clean off my tool and now move on to another color. I'm actually going to do a layer of white before I do the aqua, and I'm going to work my way all the way around. And actually, I don't think I'm going to put a layer of aqua in there. I'm just going to do the white, and then I'm going to highlight some of these with the aqua, the same way we did that double dot on that white one with the purple. Okay, so the biggest dot goes at the end, and then you're walking them around, just kind of giving it a quick roll so it's not a tiny dot. At the very end, I'm going to give it one more extra, and then one more after that. So 2 little extra dots of white at the end of each one of those. Okay, so I'm finishing off each one of these with white. Again, you just have to keep reloading, and it takes very little paint to create one of these, so you can likely do another one even on a piece of paper or a piece of cardboard or wood or anything. Use that same paint, the same stencil you can use over and over again. And you could definitely try a different color in the background, but I prefer the black. I just feel like everything stands out so nicely on it. But you are welcome to play around with it however you like. Okay, so I'm going all the way around. Again, the biggest dot on the end. Dotting as I go around. Okay, and you can really kind of get into this and play around with it as much as you want to. So if you want to keep adding little patterns and dots as you go, you can do that. It's all about symmetry, so remember, if you do it on one side, you should do the same thing on the other. Going all the way around, and then I'm adding 2 extra dots right on the edge here. Okay, starting with my big dot here, and then walking my dots all the way around that purple. I am rolling them to make them a little bit bigger. 2 dots at the end. Okay, going all the way around the end. And finishing off all of those little patterns. So biggest one in the end, walking the dots all the way around. Okay, going all the way around, continuing my symmetrical pattern all the way around. Now you can definitely, like I said, add as many dots here and there as you want, and kind of just remember to do it in a pattern where you do it, where you follow through all the way around. But that being said, you can also do a second layer of dots and add extra color on top of some of the bigger dots by just dotting with a smaller tool inside and kind of just layering them in. Okay, I'm on my last one here, and then I'm going to start adding a little bit of extra double layered ones before I finish up. Your very last step is going to be to take a little Q-tip or a little tiny brush if you have at home, but a Q-tip will work, with a little black paint, and you'll go in and just take off any of that chalk that's on there still. Okay, so I'm going to wipe that off, and now I'm going to start to double layer them. So what I want to do is I'm going to put a little purple inside these biggest dots that I have here. And I'm going to do a little dot of purple right in the middle of each one, going all the way around. Okay, going all the way around. with that same pattern, right? Just breaking up some of the big ones. You can do one in the middle if you want to. I'm going to take my smallest tool and I'm going to start dotting inside some of the medium-sized ones. So the aqua ones that I have here in a ring, I'm going to do a little white right in the middle of those. And you really can keep playing around with this, like I said, and get carried away and do a million dots on there. All right, so I'm just kind of playing around, breaking up some of the color so it's not so solid, and I'm just dotting that right in the middle of each one of those. Okay, so feel free to play around with that as much as you want. I'm just gonna make that a little bit more round right there. That one got a little funky. All right, so I'm gonna wipe off my tools, make sure I have all the paint off of them. And again, you can take a Q-tip or you can take a little brush and you'll go in and just cover up any of the little white lines. You could even take a Q-tip with just a little bit of water and wipe across because the chalk will wipe right off. I'm just gonna cover it since I have this little brush here, but feel free to grab a little Q-tip with a little water. Wait until the rest of yours dry to go in between. Right now I'm just kind of doing the big parts, but if you have spots in between here that have chalk or like in here, wait until your paint's totally dry, and you're welcome to blow dry it too to speed it along a little bit. Okay, and I'm just covering up some of those white lines from the chalk. All right, so once you have that all filled in, you are completely done, and you have your beautiful dot art mandala. Okay, just like that. And again, feel free to play around with the patterns and change it up a little bit. You can add some more of these here and there throughout in some of the empty spaces. You can take this all the way out to the edge if you want to. Thank you for crafting along with me today.